Welcome to Spirit Switchboard. I'm your host, Kerrilynn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM out of beautiful New Orleans. I'm just going to jump right in and bring my guest in because I just have a feeling that we're going to be going in so many different directions, and there's so much to chat about that I think having him come on right away is the best way to do this today. Hi, Howie. Thanks for being here. That was a great show last night with Michelle and Amelia. I have to admit, though, I was so tired that I fell asleep near the end, but I did see the beginning of it and did share you out. So it was good to see you there. Let's just put this up. So today's guest, I was so excited. I've been telling everybody, you're welcome, Howie. I've been telling everybody, I had Queenie duties today with my granddaughter, and her and I sat and watched a bunch of YouTube videos today. And so even she was excited about my guest today, which was super fun. Hi, Heidi. Oh, 407 and 47%. That's it. Hi, James. Thanks for being here. I'm excited, James, for you to connect with the guest today. I think that you guys have a number of things that you'll be able to connect with. So author, animal photojournalist, filmmaker, adventurer, Jason Kenzie.
Hello.
Hi, Jason.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm very good.
So where are you? Are you in BC? Like, yes. You're based out of BC?
Out of Vancouver, British Columbia, yeah.
Yeah. My daughter went to the island. I gave her a gift when she finished her undergrad before she started her master's. She went out there and she's like, I'm probably going to end up here. And I'm like, I'll never get you back. She's like,
and is she there?
Yeah, she's like, she loved it.
So she's living here in Vancouver?
No, she's back here. She did her master's. She started her PhD. She's like a busy girl.
She missed mommy.
I don't know. She loves it out there, though. She went to the island, and I know like it keeps calling her back. Yeah. My oldest son went to Calgary. He's never coming back to Ontario. He's like, they all want to go that way.
So she moved to Vancouver Island. Is that right? She moved to Vancouver Island?
Well, her uncle lives there, and she wants to go back there. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. It's called Ape Island.
Ape Island. Is it really?
Yeah. There's been so many Bigfoot sightings out there on Vancouver Island.
I had Thomas Seawood on the show last year talking about from his experiences, right? Like, there's so many out that way. Have you investigated in Alberta at all?
Yes. So on the border of BC and Alberta is the Rocky Mountains. So you got Jasper. So yeah, I went out there and it was interesting. We had camped at this campsite. So it was a big campsite. They had something like 42, camping areas.
Right.
And I always like to camp the furthest away from the road and close to the back of it, right up against the forest.
Right.
And at one point there was this big hill, like really big hill beside us.
Right.
And I told my buddies, because we were just there to just do some camping. And I brought my camera gear with me because I thought, well, maybe I'll film some cutaways, and usually cutaways are just like forest shots and stuff like that. I decided I was just gonna hike up this giant hill up to the top, and when I got to the very top of the hill, I walked like about 20 feet, and there in front of me was this massive tree X, like a massive tree structure, and it totally just stuck out. Like to the point where it looked like it's like someone taking matchsticks and throwing them up into the air, and then they just fall. but they're massive, like just these giant trees that were placed.
And not broken at the bottom.
So one looked like it was moved over.
Right.
And then placed over. The other one looked like it was pushed over. And
right.
The one thing I do find, and even this one had a tree that was the one that was pushed over. It had another tree over top on the bottom as if it was trying to keep it there. And then there was a tree on top of it, which I found, usually I love finding the big giant tree structures, the ones that that even 5 men couldn't lift, and unless they had pulleys or brute strength,
So I'm just gonna get to some of these hellos, and then I just want to backtrack a wee bit. James, I'm so glad that you're here. So James lives in Washington, on a mountain in his cabin, and he talks about the Sasquatch behind his house all the time. So he was pretty excited about. Yeah.
Whereabouts in Washington, I wonder?
We can find out. James is saying the big X is Sasquatch way to tell you no trespassing.
So I've been told, it's a possibility until Sasquatch can come and tell me that. I still don't know 100% why they would build it.
Yeah.
I can tell you. Hey, how are you?
What's up, Kenzie?
Look at you guys.
We've been secretly planning this all week.
The tables have been turned, my friend. You are live on YouTube.
No, it's not Fonzie. It's Jason Kenzie.
Turn that up?
Yeah, I'm going to turn it up.
Live. It'll just be like a domino.
It would be like a domino. So, fan favorite. So, Richie B and Wojo from Bigfoot Banter with Richie B. Please like, subscribe, follow, get him up to that.
License registration, please.
Yeah, you guys are out checking the peanut butter on the gifting chair right now. Is that what you guys are doing?
What do you guys doing?
I don't know.
Your phone sucks.
I don't know why the volume's all the way up.
It's horrible.
Peanut butter?
Are you checking the peanut butter on the gifting chair?
Or are you guys eating the peanut butter?
Yeah, we're at the gifting chair.
Yes, we're at the gifting chair right now.
The peanut butter is gone.
Yes, the peanut butter's gone. We left some flowers and honey this time.
Yes, and a zinger.
And a zinger.
Well, the reason why it's gone is because you pissed them off because it had nuts. Right? No one eats those peanut butter.
This volume sucks. I hate my phone.
I hate your phone.
I hate my phone.
Everybody see Kerrilynn? Everybody see Kerrilynn right here?
Sorry, Kerrilynn.
You never know.
Which is great. I love that show.
Yeah, we're on live, and we're in the Bridgewater Triangle, and
this is where we saw the self-illuminating eyes last time.
Well, that's what I'm waiting to see, some eyes behind your shoulder.
Yes.
That's just me.
We need to see some eyes.
You want to see out in the woods?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You ready? Is that the right way? It is. There it is. Look over there.
We already lost.
This is how much we're rookies.
You want to go to the gifting chair?
Yeah.
You want to go to the gifting chair? Come on.
All right, let's go.
All right, let's go. The volume's still. All right, so
you two can continue talking.
Yeah, go ahead. We're just making our way through the woods.
Over you. So one of my first experiences I had when I was.
So wish that Jason Kenzie guy would get off his ass and get out here with us, don't you?
I know. I would
Wait,
love to.
is that still on?
My ass is still on the seat. I know. I film everything in my backyard. So anyway, I was actually invited to Michigan to speak at a Bigfoot conference out there. And after the conference, they took me to the UP where we were driving on a ATV trail way in the back forests, way up in the UP. And I spotted this giant tree X, massive. And so I tapped, because I was on the back of the ATV, and I tap, we stop, we get off, we take a walk up to it. Same kind of thing. Two giant, about 30 feet tall, One looked like it was pushed over. The other one looked like it was ripped out of the ground and moved. And it had another one on top. So I turned to one of the researchers. I said, you know what? I'm going to spend the night here in a hammock tent. I'm just going to string it up
he's talking about the X.
underneath the X. So everyone said, you don't want to do that because it stands for no trespassing and it's danger. And I'm like, okay, but I think I'll be fine.
That triangle goes, I'm going to do a soft.
So that night, I actually went and spent the night, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm lying there sleeping. That's how I sleep. And suddenly, crack! And I'm like, what the fuck? And I hear it walking, and it's crunch, crunch. And I'm like thinking, is it a bear? Is it a wild boar? Like, you know, and I'm listening as it's walking.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it stopped about 15 feet from me, and it grunted in my ear. It was like, like it was mad. And I was like, oh, I'm like thinking, oh my God, if this is really a Bigfoot, I'm already done up as a burrito. So I started just, you know, adding salt and pepper onto me, getting ready to be ripped out and carried off into the forest.
Did he say a burrito?
Burrito.
Yes. Don't you wish you had one right now?
A Jason burrito for the Sasquatch because he slept at the X.
I was listening to it, and not only did I hear the grunt, I felt it. And then I started shaking uncontrollably. And I don't know if you've ever been so scared that when you're shaking, you're trying to stop and it's hurting you. That's exactly what it felt like. Then it turned and started walking away, and it was a crunch, 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 crunch.
Everybody stay still.
Like it took like
That's
5
scary.
or 6 steps, and then it was nothing. And I yelled out to see if my friend was out, and I said, David, is that you? And David says, Jason, yeah, I'm here. What do you want? And I unzipped really fast, and I ran around, and there's David just lying there, all bundled up about 20 feet from me.
So did he hear it too?
No, he didn't hear it. So I said, was that you walking around? He's like, no, Jay, I was sleeping. I only woke up when you called my name. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And so for the next little bit, we were looking for footprints or whatever. Couldn't find nothing. But that was, and at the same time this was happening, there was a recorder that was probably about
Kenzie talking right
feet away, and it caught whoop, like some weird talking.
Oh, like the gibberish stuff.
Gibberish,
like,
yeah.
Kenzie talking.
I have that in the recording. I should have sent that to you.
So hey,
So
I'm gonna do a soft whoop right now. You guys want to hang out for a second, and then we'll let you guys get back on, because we don't want to take all of Sir Kenzie's time up.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And every time he tells the burrito story, he goes, I unzipped, and I get nervous. I got to be honest. Go ahead. All right. Sorry. As I will.
You get nervous. I get nervous.
I'm like, please say sleeping bags. Please say sleeping bags.
I don't know. I'm hearing grumbling in your stomach.
I unzipped out of my pants. Like, duh.
I knew I'd get him to say it. Well, the Kerrilynn show is not our show. Hey, they got 2 hours, by the way.
You know,
Yeah, we get 2 hours. We got lots of time.
They did contact me earlier in the day and said, hey, I want you to say this on
Don't you listen to him. All right, you ready? There we go.
Okay, do the whoop.
All right, everybody, count to 10 in your heads softly.
That wasn't good. You might want to get checked.
Oh, I didn't move. That's gas. Jason, do one. Jason, do one. Jason, do a whoop.
Did you hear it? Would you hear it if I did it? How about I do a howl? I'll do a howl.
Yeah,
See?
Yeah, go.
Okay, I'll get close.
Woo!
Not bad for a production guy.
I'm kidding. I just heard someone yell, shut up. No.
Yeah, I would laugh at suddenly this 900-pound freaking monster comes ripping out of the forest and grabs both of you and carries you off on live stream.
As long as it's recorded.
I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. I really like your cell phone.
No, as long as it's recorded.
I will keep rolling. Don't you worry. It's all about the search.
That's right. It's all
No,
about the evidence.
well, after you record, you want to throw it, right? Throw it so someone finds it.
I agree. And I don't know what's going to happen to Wojo.
All right. Well,
Thanks for popping on.
thank you for having us.
Listen, banter with Richie B and the Wojo don't merely pop on, ma'am. Okay? We have dedicated our time to this event. All right, I'm sorry.
Hello, 911. Yes, we have some talk.
The last thing is that
I want you to invest them right now.
Is that a big phone or a little phone?
It's a little one.
Look for a big guy and a small guy.
You're talking to Sasquatch again.
Look like Bigfoot.
I do want to know is that a Christmas tree like behind us so lit up?
Yeah, it's got bubble Halloween pumpkin lights on it.
Pumpkin lights?
Pumpkin lights, like those old-fashioned bubble lights. Like
that's a little bit too.
I'd rather get ripped apart by Sasquatch.
Yeah. Oh, he's got the short cup again. Well, you two have a great show.
Have a great show.
Thank you.
Get off now.
sorry, Sir Kenzie. We're leaving. We'll see you later.
Bye, guys.
From the woods, Banter with Richie B. We're out. Back to you, Bob.
Like, subscribe, follow.
What?
Banter with Richie
Try the
B.
merch.
Try merch. Oh, my
Buy the
ears.
merch. Keep climbing.
Thank you.
Bye. That was
I'm
awesome.
pretty sure we just got invaded by some homeless guys. Oh wait, they're still on. Damn it. So anyway, okay, I want you to drop it right there on top of them. Okay, yes. Thanks.
I messaged Richie earlier in the week. I went, look, this is what are you guys doing? Do you want to pop in? Pop
Nice.
in and say hi at the
That
same
was
time.
awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so James is saying northeastern Washington along the Colville National Forest.
Okay.
That's where he is at.
Needs a. I guess I should come out there and come visit James, and if he'd want to have me, and we can go out there into his area and see what we can find.
Well, he says that he hears them, talks about it a lot actually, which is pretty cool. Hi, Jackie. Thank you for being here.
Jackie, what's up?
Heidi, I agreed. As long as somebody is filming it, then it's all good, right?
Of course. Thanks, Heidi.
James says, bring a sack lunch with you.
A sack lunch? You got it. I bring the beers, but I don't drink alcohol. Sorry about that, James.
It influences things. You originally, well, and you still do, right? Animal, so it was exotic animal photojournalism, right? And do you find, and so was that not your first documentary too? Like was with?
I was filming a web series called Jason Kenzie's Animal Adventures, and I was putting them on YouTube.
Right.
And that was how, I did that for 20 years, over 20 years doing that kind of photography. I started as an event and wedding photographer back in the day before I got into producing films. But yeah, if anyone likes animals, you just put Jason Kenzie's Animal Adventures and you'll find there's 400 videos of behind the scenes of my photo shoots. So you get to see me play with foxes and everything.
Howie is just sharing we have a lot of action and activity in Harrisonburg, Virginia, Folks Mountain.
I'd like to go to Virginia. I want to do a documentary on Mothman.
Oh.
Because Mothman isn't too far away from there, I assume. I haven't done too much research yet on Mothman, but.
No. And you can do the documentary about it and come back on because everyone that I've contacted has not responded about coming on the show to talk about Mothman. So I'll lean on you.
That's
I'll lean
okay.
on I'll lean on you to do it.
You know,
Um,
out of all these cryptids that's out there,
mm,
Bigfoot, because he has big feet.
Pleasant
Dogman,
Point.
because it has kind of a face of a wolf or dog. Mothman, because it has bright red eyes and kind of looks like a moth. Imagine if there was a chicken man out there. Who would be afraid of it? No one. I'm like, I'm being chased by chicken man.
There are people who are very scared of birds.
But chickens?
Oh, chickens can be nasty.
Usually
If it
people,
was like a banty rooster, big banty rooster, no, I'd be scared of it. Wait, I'd be
so
scared.
usually it's pigeons and crows and seagulls. They're the main ones that people, are terrified of. But not everyone, but obviously some people. There's a name for it.
Did you grow up around chickens? No.
Well,
I,
no, but I have done a
I'm
few
taking this all the way,
documentaries
but
on chickens.
see, Heidi's saying chickens are terrifying. When we were growing up, we had chickens, and the banty roosters they were so mean. We used to go in with like a 2x4. So if they flew up at us, we would hit them to knock them
Yeah?
out. Yeah.
Well, that's a shame, Heidi. I just bought you some chickens.
Yeah.
Now what am I going to do?
Okay, so Howie, we're all sideways. Howie, thanks for hanging out tonight in the chat. Howie, I've been missing you. We have a myth of deer head man.
Deer head man? So it has
Yeah.
a head of a deer?
He feels as a skinwalker.
Well, kind of. Well, they say skinwalker. They kind of have like antlers, and the skinwalkers is basically a bit of every animal, really. Like it's just this giant, like it took pieces from all different animals and stuck it together, basically. They should have called it.
Heidi, I feel that. I'm with you. Go in with a broom or a shovel because some of them they were nasty. Heidi's saying.
Well, you know what? It's Halloween, so pretty much go in with a
Shapeshifter.
broom.
Okay, so where I was going with where you started with the docuseries was how did it shift and change? Like, what did you bring forward with you when you started doing the Sasquatch series, or how did you evolve into, or?
Okay, so what happened was, so I was doing my animal adventures and I was having a lot of fun. I was traveling all over the world, just meeting people with exotic animals, tigers and bears and you name it,
Crazy world of exotic
crazy, kangaroos and alligators, these giant spiders as pets. And a lady that had 5 wolves, a lady that has a pet bobcat, 400-pound tiger, 900-pound grizzly bear, like just, different kinds of pets. Then when in 2019, when the world stopped breathing and we weren't able to, go walk around, I wasn't able to do my animal adventures. So I was sitting around a fire with my friend, Paul, and I said, I was basically venting. I was upset and I was choked because I wasn't able to do my animal adventures. It was one thing that made me very happy. And he joked to me, or he said, hey, why don't you do Sasquatch? Maybe he's an animal. And we laughed at it. And then I took a step back and thought, actually, you know what? Maybe Sasquatch is an animal. And I've been in the animal world for over 25 years. So I went to interview someone who said they had seen Sasquatch, and I found it fascinating. And then they led me to another person who said they saw one of these creatures, and I decided to interview them. And from there, they sent me to First Nations people, and then in turn, they sent me to an area way up into the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the mountains, where I found a lake in the middle of the mountain that had footprints that went all the way across, hundreds of them. And I had a drone, so I droned the lake, and sure enough, you could see all the pattern. And even when I was standing on dry land looking into the water, I could see it. I turned it into my first documentary called Searching for Sasquatch, and that went viral. And then after that, researchers, Bigfoot researchers would contact me, and they would fly me out, and I would speak and at conferences, and that's how I started. And I had so much fun. It was a whole new world for me, and then I did another documentary, and yeah, it just went from there. And now I'm up to 15.
So how has your opinion changed? When you first started, maybe it is an animal. So now what are your thoughts about what Sasquatch could be?
I went in at 20% a believer. That Bigfoot is real. And now after 6.5 years, almost 7 years, and 15 documentaries and like 40 expeditions, I'm up to 50% a believer. The reason why I'm not, because I've seen some crazy stuff out there. I've seen the trees that are ripped out of the ground and turned upside down, jammed into the ground. I've seen the eye shine, creatures watching me from behind, the roars, the audio, the screams, but I haven't had a daytime sighting. So I need to have a daytime sighting before I will believe 100% that Bigfoot is real.
It's interesting where everybody's line is, like what experience they need to have in order to be that believer. Oh, we're doing the cup. Do you have the little cup?
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea.
I have this one.
Oh, I like it. Grr.
Just for you.
It looks like it's out of, okay, so ceramic. I thought it was metal.
It has a dog paw on the other side.
Oh, it's a dog part. You have dogs?
2.
What kind of dogs do you have?
A bulldog Shar-Pei named Bruce and a Chihuahua pug named Nora.
Oh, that's cute. So does the Shar-Pei have a black tongue?
He does.
With a black tongue?
Yeah.
I think they have black skin too.
So he's a bulldog Shar-Pei cross. So he's he's brindled, with that very dark face and a short flapped over ears. He's really sweet.
That's sweet. Cute.
Mm-hmm.
That's cute. So so I've done a lot of dog photography. I still do.
Well, Christmas
is coming.
He's pretty.
So, Christmas is coming, so people will hire me to do dog photos.
Do they really?
Oh yeah. I have dog photos.
Let's do the other plug. I wrote down this for you too, because I want to make sure. Searching for Sasquatch, the hidden treasure of Bigfoot. Kids. There's the little crap.
What's that?
On Amazon, if you're purchasing for a family, your book, your little family book. Yeah. I
have 4 children's books.
Yep.
And I have the comic book.
Yeah.
And I have another. So I do have another Bigfoot book that I don't really talk about, and it's not really like I don't pitch it out there, but it's called. It's black. It has a big Bigfoot face on there, and it's a hardcover book, and it's called Everything We Know About the Legendary Bigfoot. And when you open it, it's blank.
Right? There's nothing.
It's blank. But the thing is, I did something kind of sneaky with it, where it isn't completely blank, but it kind of is. But I turned it into almost like a journal for people. So chapter 1 is my first Bigfoot sighting. Chapter 2 is the first Bigfoot audio scream. Chapter 3 is finding my first Bigfoot footprint, and on and on like that. And then so people can actually take the book and they can use it as kind of like a journal where they can talk. But that I was, everything we know about the legendary Bigfoot. And that you can find on Amazon as well.
Right.
Yeah. So that
was when you were talking about flip on YouTube and grab something, it's the outtakes. You are so funny. You are so funny. The outtakes crack me up. And I think
there's a lot of outtakes. There's a lot.
But it would be scary to hear those howls in the middle of the night or see those light shine eyes. It's super scary and staying calm. And then we laugh about it later,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. We laugh at it later.
we
But
laugh at it
in
later.
the moment, you know.
Yeah.
I just took two people out into the forest on a Bigfoot expedition, Laura and Matt, in northern Michigan, and yeah, it went down. Like, it was crazy. The stuff that happened was just nuts. Like, we were surrounded. They were walking around us. We
So
could see them
flanked.
peeking behind the trees, like just
So you think when
looking.
they're flanking you, they're trying to walk you out?
Well,
Not wanting you there?
at the time, we had gone off trail, and I believe there was some paranormal stuff happening. It wasn't just because we were seeing like shadow people too, and
Right.
there was these giant mounds all around. These
When were
giant.
you there?
What's that?
When
Yeah, I was
when were you
walking.
there? Just recently?
Oh yeah, like a week and a half ago.
Okay, I have a theory I want to toss by you. So you
Yeah.
finish, and I'm going to write down so I don't forget.
Yeah. So we went to this area deep into the forest. Like, we drove in about almost 5 miles down this 2-track road in the middle of the forest, and then we got out and we hiked for another almost 2 miles into the forest, and we were walking along a 2-track that you couldn't really take vehicles down because there was a kind of a pole across, like a gate, and we decided to go off into the forest. Like, screw the 2-track, just let's venture off into the forest. And yeah, we were finding the strangest tree structures, the creatures. We could hear them howling, and they were on either side of us walking. Then we would see them like a blur because they moved so fast. Boom. And there was these giant mounds. And at one point, we're looking at this giant tree structure. I call it a spider web structure because it looked like a spider web, like two with a hole in the middle. It just looked so perfect. And then after about 10 minutes of filming it and talking about it, I said, well, we better get out of here. And as we went to walk away, I tripped and I looked down, and there were giant, like, these logs. The logs were this big around.
Right.
They were probably about 4 feet long, and they were all put into, it looked like runes, like almost like symbols, almost like the Greek symbols.
So
Almost
could
like
people
that.
have done that?
Well, yes, that could be a possibility. But we were literally off the trail and got turned around. The trail was probably about 2,000 feet away from us, and we were like in the forest. So
that adds a whole level of spook factor.
Oh my God. And at the same time, we could see the eye shine of these creatures watching us, peeking from behind trees. And I'm filming the whole thing. Like, I'm filming it. Where Laura and Matt, I mean, they were pretty scared. I mean, I was scared, but I was trying to be all stoic. Like, I'm like, okay, be calm, guys. Meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, ah! And I'm like, okay, let's not panic.
Yeah.
Lucky for us, Laura, the two, Matt and Laura, they're a couple, and they love hunting. They go hunting, and they're experts at tracking. So even though we got turned around, and even though we were all freaking out over these creatures that we could clearly see watching us, she knew exactly where the trail was, right? Because we were trying to get out, and I was like, okay, did we go this way? Okay, let me just look. And she's like, no, it's this way. Trust me, I know where we're going. And we were able to get back to that trail faster than, I mean, I would have found it eventually, but I had to kind of do a little bit of looking up. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty fun, terrifying at the same time. But I believe.
So Jen, if it's a road trip, we're taking the PT Cruiser. Just saying.
It sounds like a road trip. Well, hey, I'm always game for a road trip. You guys ever want?
Yes.
Hey, I'm going to be there next summer, I hope.
Yeah, we're in. So Northern Ontario has a lot of reports of Sasquatch, like even in my dad's backyard.
So this is kind of the deal. So I wanted, so they, who was it? It was, what's the,
Lucky
what is-
Paranormal,
what is it? The
Lake
conference-
Superior Paracon.
Yes. So that's where I'm going to speak at, but they want me to take a group out there into the forest.
Mm.
But what I would like to do is I would like to have another smaller group so we can do a little bit more extreme, go someplace, because there I'm going to take some people out, but I said to her that let's go to a place where it isn't too extreme, like meaning there isn't, nowhere that we can get lost or
Right.
nowhere where it's like straight up or dangerous.
Yeah. Where the insurance is going to cost you something.
Exactly, right? That's exactly.
Yeah.
But I would love to take a smaller group and go to another area that is a little bit more rugged, a little bit more, have more, whatever, right?
Yeah. Okay, so here, do you want to hear my theory? I talked to somebody. Well, I asked if you wanted to hear it, but I was really going to tell you anyway, even if you said no.
No, I don't want to hear it. Okay.
You're hearing it anyway.
No, not going to hear it.
Everybody's hearing it. So I actually was talking to Wojo earlier today or yesterday. I guess it was yesterday. And he was telling me about some of the experiences they've been having too, right? Which has been increased. And you just shared that crazy story, which was like super increased. And I posed this question to Wojo, and I'm going to pose it to you. And I'm going to tell you some of the stuff that I wrote down when I did a bit of research this afternoon. I asked the question, like, I have always been able to connect to the other side since the time I was little. So seeing spirits has been my normal from being little, and a full-time career for almost 18 years. So this time of year, everyone says like the veil is thinner. Yeah. Like you just feel it. So,
closer. Right?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And I've never, it always bothered me. Just even the phrase I always call it stink eye tight butt. Like I hear that phrase that, the veil is thin, and I go, like, all right. Yeah. I said, but for someone like me, it's the same year round, but it kind of amps up because everyone's putting that same collective thought into it. Everybody is putting that same collective thought. So would the activity increase with Sasquatch as well too, if it's dimensional, if they can create portals, if they can do telepathy? Like wouldn't you could take that assumption as well too, if that veil is thin or vibrationally, energetically it's different this time of year? Would that increase the sightings, activity, interaction with Sasquatch too?
Well, the only issue I have with them being, people say, well, maybe they can be invisible, or maybe they go through into a portal, or they can cloak. And I'm like, okay, well, let's think about it for a second. With like a lot of researchers at the same breath will say, well, these creatures don't want to be seen. They don't want you to see them. They don't, want you to bother them. But I don't know about you, but if I didn't want people to bother me, or if I didn't want people to see me, that's why I run away. And I can be invisible or cloak, or go through a portal. Why would I ever come out of it? Why would I ever want to come out of them from being invisible if I didn't want people to see me? Because showing myself could get me killed, right? A hunter could take me out. Yeah. So this thing about them cloaking or being invisible, it's kind of
I don't know.
Not saying they can't cloak or be invisible, because there are real animals on this planet that can actually almost cloak or almost be invisible, or they have extreme camouflage, which is cuttlefish. They can almost do a translucent with their body, where they almost look see-through. There is some animals that are translucent. You can see right through them.
Well,
right?
and my favorite is an octopus. Everything like that,
Octopus
they
is a
camouflage.
master of disguise.
My
They can
beautiful
literally,
tattoo is
yeah,
one big octopus on my
well,
arm.
they can morph into
Yeah,
looking like coral or a rock.
yeah,
Right. So because I know that there are animals that are like that,
yeah.
chameleon, the walking stick bug, they
Which
extreme
is
camouflage.
another great video.
You like that?
Yeah,
That was fun. But yeah, so
yeah,
maybe Sasquatch, maybe they can cloak. Maybe they have extreme camouflage where they can morph to look like a
yeah.
tree or get close, you know, because if
Well,
there's animals out there that do it, there could be a possibility they could do it. There's no animal on the planet that can go through uh, a time like a warp. Like there's no animal on the planet that can do that. So I can't say, because usually when I'm talking about Bigfoot, when I'm researching, I think what is out there in the wild,
yeah.
right? That can do that, like
Well,
the
and
infrasound.
that's the lens, you know.
Yes,
Like
and the
that's
infrasound. Right? There are true animals
well.
out there that have infrasound, like the
So
tigers.
infrasound is something that I wrote down, but I want
Yeah,
to before we start talking about infrasound, I just want to share some of these facts because I found it. I don't know. It not that it supported my theory, but it kind of lent into it because the Patterson Gimlin video was filmed in October. Did you know that? It was in October.
yeah, I think
And so Bob Titmus, he was from British Columbia. The tracks, like this big, huge set of tracks that he had found through Bluff Creek,
yeah,
October was also in October. There was something about Jerry Crew as well too, 16-inch prints from Bluff Creek in October. It was all of these things happen in October. So I just found it's interesting. Not that I'm saying it validates, but it's maybe something to think about or research. Like, do the sightings increase at a certain time of year?
yeah, which could be a possibility. I mean,
I don't
is
know.
there scientific research
Oh,
proving that the
yeah.
moon is closer to the Earth in October? See, I'm
I don't know.
not into stars and all that
I don't
stuff.
know.
So
We'll ask Joni. We'll ask Joni, who's my astrology friend. She'll know.
when is the moon close
Yes.
to Earth? I'm asking my friend Google.
The moon's is at its closest to the Earth when it is at perigee and at its furthest when it is at apogee. The time between consecutive perigees is called the anomalistic month, which is approximately 27.55455 days.
And in October!
The moon is
No,
closest
just
to the day
James.
between perigee and apogee.
okay, we
So
know that.
Julie, thank you, Julie. She said definitely food for thought. Heather, I agree with you. Heather saying migration, and that was something I had wrote down too, right? Like that using the Rocky Mountains as that north and south, trail through North America. James is saying the same. Could be that they're preparing for winter. So
what's interesting is when I filmed my first Bigfoot documentary, and those footprints, I showed the drone footage to the First Nations people, and they said that I found the migration path of the Sasquatch people from Alaska all the way to California.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. But I found this in July. So, but not saying that the footprints were there
Right.
in July. But you know what? Now I go back to thinking, okay, what animals out there migrate? And there is many of them that migrate. So maybe the Sasquatch people do migrate. Right?
Well, yeah, because I know the indigenous people from the area that I grew up said the same, like think about a bear and what a bear would eat, and that's what a Sasquatch is going to eat, and behaviors are going to have as well too. So I don't know. Heidi's asking, What are your thoughts on more and more people looking or focusing their attention on them recently in the last few years, or even during October?
Well, it's interesting. One of the biggest reasons why I love searching for Bigfoot in October is because the leaves are changing color, and you can see further into the forest because the leaves have fallen down,
Right.
and it's not cold enough. Like it's not too cold, because I have actually I've done an expedition in the snow, and it's not as nice,
Right.
but in October is one of the perfect times to go because it's not too hot, not too cold, and it's beautiful with all the colors.
Right.
And there you can see further in the forest, especially if you're using thermal
Like a
imagery.
flare.
Yeah, a FLIR or infrared.
Right. I want to research into that even more.
You should.
Infrasound. Infrasound.
So there are animals that do have infrasound, right? Like whales, tigers, elephants,
Right.
right? So I think, okay, maybe it's real that Sasquatch has infrasound. Now I've felt the infrasound from
Did
these
it
boards.
make you sick?
No, but it did. It shook me. Like it shook me inside to the point where I wasn't sick, but my eyes would go poof, 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 poof. Like I
Right.
would have
It moved right through you.
Yeah, it moved right through me, and I could feel it. Like it just
Right.
went right through, and it kind of like just shook it. I don't remember feeling sick though, but I've heard it a few times. I've been roared at half a dozen times.
The audio clips that you sent, were those,
So
there's two.
Yeah, so those were captured in Minnesota on the Red Lake Indian Band Reservation. Now it's one of the largest lakes in North America, and this huge reservation that they don't allow anyone to go on. If you're not part of a member, if you're not like a member, then you're not allowed to go into that forest. And if you get caught, you can actually, I think it's mandatory that they put you in for 3 months just for being in there.
Really?
So no one goes in there, not even they go in there. They don't even go into the forest, and especially not at night. And when I told them that I was going to go into the forest at night, they thought I was crazy. They're like, okay. And I was out there with the Sasquatchers, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we heard the howls. We heard the crazy stuff out there. We found some. I think I sent you the picture of the red. Is it a red tree structure?
Yes, sorry. I'm just trying to get it up here now.
Do you want to show people the roar?
Yeah.
The short one?
Sorry, I thought I had it set up proper, so just give me a second.
But yeah, so we're sitting around a campfire, and I would say probably 2 hours goes by and nothing happens. And I stood up and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do a howl. And a couple of the researchers I were with, they kind of rolled their eyes and said, why? It's stupid. You just look stupid doing it. It doesn't do anything. And I'm like, well, we've been here for 2 hours. Or nothing's happened. I just, you know what? Just in giggles, I'm just going to go do it. What the heck? And of course, they were like, oh, fine. So I did a howl, very similar to what I just did there earlier. And no lies, I'm sitting in front of you. Within 30 seconds after I did the howl, we got this howl from behind us. And then all of a sudden, in front of us, probably a few miles away, there was another howl. So the one behind us was so close, they must have been within 100 feet or 200 feet behind us, watching us. And then it howled. It was crazy. And then the coyotes started. And I always love it when the coyotes start, because you could tell the difference between coyotes and these other creatures howling.
I don't
So
know
this
if I
is-
grabbed the right one. So we're gonna. Are they both from the same?
Yeah, so this is a short one. This is the short. Yeah, so that was the, yeah, so there was an old man that was a First Nations, and he actually captured this in his backyard on the reserve that backed up onto the forest. But I've heard this roar in Texas. So if you guys happen to go and watch any of my documentaries, the
Yeah.
Texas Screams, if you go on there, you will actually hear that roar. It almost sounds like almost like a wolf, like almost like the howl in Texas. But they surrounded us in Texas. It was crazy, all howling all around us for like an hour nonstop. It was crazy. So much fun. So this one, the next one that you're going to play is longer. And it has about 5 of them. And they all go crazy. They all go nuts. And it takes a little bit before, but you wait. They sound angry or hurt.
And it's that huff at
Yeah.
like.
Now wait. Here it comes. This is it. Okay, right here. Yeah.
Okay. So
we had an expert primal. She was a primate specialist, and when we played it, if you have to back up about, I think 10 seconds or 12 seconds, there is a roar at the end of it. It goes,
yeah.
and that, she said, there's no animal on this planet that can do that except for a primate. So it was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. But
Heidi's saying, "Oh my hell, yikes!" And like you almost need to listen to it with your eyes closed and imagine being deep in the forest at the same time. It's so, oh my hell, yikes, as you're sitting in your cozy, living room watching a podcast to like being out there at the time.
In there, I've been into some really deep forest. Like
So,
sometimes I've gone in by helicopter and got dropped off. Yeah.
You could still hear like crickets and you could still hear other sounds. Is that pretty common, or do like the birds stop, or does nature stop when they start?
It's interesting. The crickets may not stop literally beside you, right? But like any animal, usually, the frogs will stop.
Yeah.
It's because they don't want the predator to find them. So like if we're being chased, we're going to be quiet too and hold our breath. Please don't eat me. It's terrible. Go for the camera guy.
There's a the camera guy. That's right. There's a place that I've taken people on investigations with, and when you're walking through the trail to get to it, there's a point in that trail where everything stops. You don't hear birds anymore. There's no insect sounds. There's nothing. It's like nature, Snow White. We got all the kumbaya happening, and then you get to that spot, and it's like eerie.
Does that happen every time?
Yeah, every time I've taken people
Same
there.
spot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what you do. Okay, next time we do this
Bring
spot,
peanut butter.
no, next time you do that, you have it all planned, okay? So as you guys are walking down the trail,
Yeah.
as soon as you come to that spot,
Yeah.
you just go, and then 3 of you guys run sideways off the trail into the forest really fast in different directions, just to see if maybe you can capture something that is looking at you, right? I mean, if 2 of you guys come back out of 3, well, then you know.
Yes, Julie, it's the Hermitage. Like, the people from this area know exactly where it's at. So it is the Hermitage for sure. It's just
What? So what? Julie has gone to that spot too, and so the same spot. So that's like paranormal. I don't know if that's Bigfoot related, but that sounds.
Oh, I don't know if it's Bigfoot either. It's definitely paranormal. There's all kinds of weirdness that
Yeah.
happens there. All kinds of weirdness. Heidi is saying I can't fathom hearing that in the physical, for sure.
Yeah, it is. It is. It can be pretty nerve wracking for sure.
Like,
Yeah, one time I was in the forest by myself, and I got dropped off by helicopter, and what happened was my light went off. Like my light batteries died, and stupid me, I only had one light, so I basically backed myself up against a tree
right.
and just sat there all night listening to, like, I mean, it was probably just like mice and whatever walking around,
Right.
like scurrying around. But when you're in the dark and you have no light,
It's
every little sound sounds like an elephant.
because it's like sensory deprivation, right?
Yeah.
So everything, all the other senses just get so
Mhm.
heightened. If when you're listening back, have you ever caught other sounds that you didn't know that you had caught, or different
Well, there's
seeing
been
it
many.
back, watching it back, like
Yeah.
where you didn't
So
see it at the time, but you
yeah.
caught it
Oh
after
yeah.
when you're
That
editing?
happens all the time. So when I edit my stuff, I have the lights off and it's dark and I have my screen, I'm doing my thing, and all of a sudden I will see eye shine looking over my shoulder, like only 10 feet in the forest. And I at the moment I heard something walking, but I couldn't see it.
Right.
But I would have my camera facing me and I'd be talking on the camera. I
Right.
would basically just be like, I'd have my camera and I'd be like, so anyway, blah, 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 like da, da, da. And over my shoulder, a creature would be just watching me. And that's happened. And if anyone watches my documentaries, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about because I put it in there. And,
Yeah.
you see that. And it happens so many times. It's as if the creatures think I'm not looking at them. So they peek their heads out, right?
Right.
But they don't realize the camera's, facing them.
Yeah. So Julia's just sharing about the Hermitage. I used to ride my bike to that place when I was young. When we're young, we're so
So that was like a couple of weeks ago.
yes.
You look pretty young.
James or Washington friend is saying, can you smell them up here? They smell like wet dog and skunk.
So I have smelt that at times. It's almost like the smell is kind of, floating through the air and it just passes through you. I don't know. It'd be interesting if they could actually release that on command.
Oh,
right? Like a
right.
skunk,
Yeah.
right? It would be. I mean, common sense tells you no. It's if these creatures are real, their hair is matted. They're probably not very clean, and if they're part primate, part human, because of BO, they probably even smell even worse, and that's why
Right.
that's why there's a reason why they call it a skunk ape, right?
Well, so
Right.
one of the sillier questions, which isn't really silly, was like, can you think of like 5 names that they get called besides Like, what are 5 other names, right?
Yeah,
Like,
so
skunk ape is one of
skunk ape, the Ohio grassman, Bigfoot,
Yeah.
Sasquatch, um, probably the Rougarou, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, they say it's supposed to have a cat
Yeti.
face. The Yeti. There's quite a few. There's Booger. What a stupid name for a Bigfoot. Can you imagine? You're a 9-foot, 900-pound creature, and you're like, "Rah, I am Booger."
Yeah.
Like, I'd be so insulted. Like,
I don't know. What about, James is saying my Scottish granddad called them the hide behind.
oh yes, you know what? Believe it or not, I was just said that. Someone told me
Hide
that
behind.
name a week and a half ago when I was out in
Synchronicities.
in Minnesota. No, in Wisconsin. Because so many places, Michigan. They call it the
So,
hide behind.
so do
In
you
fact,
find? Go ahead.
yeah. In fact, I'm actually going to go and do a documentary with this guy who calls them the hide behind.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so I just interviewed him, but we didn't have time to do the adventure into the forest.
So I have 2 questions about that. 2 questions. Because you've been to so many different locations, have any of the characteristics or qualities stay consistent, or locations different? And do you know what I'm probably
Well,
I'm not.
what's interesting is out of all the places, like all the places I've traveled to, all the locations, and there's quite a few of them, they all do very similar things. Like the tree structures, they're built very similar,
Yeah.
right? The footprints, the howls, the sounds, the weird way that they try and mimic an owl sound. That's
So
what
do
they
they mimic more than just an owl?
I would not be surprised. I go back to thinking of what animals out there mimic other animals, right? So you got the parrot, and then you have,
Wow.
even
Because there's an
some.
alien connection, and I know that irritates people when I bring it up, but there is like
Well,
an alien connection with owls and an alien connection with the blue eyes, and people are talking about seeing Sasquatch with blue eyes as well too.
so I
Yes,
am,
James, exactly. They do whistle as well too,
and the
right?
whistles are very similar too. Now I did interview a retired police officer who took me a long time to convince her to go on camera. I still had to black her out and change her voice, but she said she was driving home from fishing, and she saw this huge a UFO hovering over this forest in front of her, and she slammed her brakes on, and she's watching it. Then there's a big flash, and then it took off like boom, and then these 2 Bigfoot creatures came walking out of the forest towards her, and she freaked out, and she punched it, and it changed her life, like for the worse, because she had PTSD,
Yeah,
she had
PTSD. Well, it changes your perception of what reality is.
well, that's the thing. She was so straight as an arrow, and then now she's questioning it.
Yeah.
And she was trying really hard to say she didn't see what she saw, but it drove her a little bit nuts. And, she still didn't want people knowing who she was, because she didn't want her police officer friends to,
Because there still is judgment, as much as we are out in the open more than what we have been in the past, like with all the different shows and documentaries and podcasts and all the things that are happening now. But there still is a stigma attached to it.
Yeah,
There's
of
still
course.
a stigma. James is showing, ever talk to the engineers driving trains through the backcountry and ask if they've ever seen a Sasquatch?
So I talked to some workers, people that were fixing the train tracks, and they'd go deep into the forest. And one guy told me that there was something that roared at them from the forest, and they were so scared that they basically for the next couple hours were back to back on this train track with their weapons, and they were calling saying, listen, you need to get us out of here. Like they get dropped off. And the foreman was like, you need to come get us. Like, come now. I don't care if you're going to fire me. You have to come get us. There's something not right out here. And he didn't want to come out and say exactly. So he just said that there were bears that were making all this noise and they were terrified over that. But he told me off camera that they were terrified. They didn't want to believe that it was Bigfoot creatures, but they were surrounded and they were terrified. And
if they were wanting to hurt, there have been so many of those types of experiences. If their intention was truly to harm or hurt, would they not have done that?
And that's one thing. So I have 2 rules when I go into the forest with people, and I tell this to everyone who comes out with me. I say, rule number 1, no hoaxing. Don't go throwing something into the forest and say, hey, that's a creature, or running off and howling and pretending to see eyes when they don't see it. And number 2 is if something happens when we're out there, if let's say even a bear or a cougar or these creatures do come around, whatever you do not run. Stand beside me, because we're safer together than a group. Than if you run off into the forest. At least give me my camera gear first. Okay? I joke, but the thing is, I've had so many camera people, something roars or screams in the forest, or something breaks a stick or wood knocks next to us. I lost count how many camera people would run, and I'm running after them, not trying to save them, but like yelling, give me my camera gear.
Yes.
If you're going to run, and I tell them, listen, I've done this quite a while. Allegedly, these creatures are around me. If they wanted to kill us, they would just do it. They just walk out, twist their heads off, and that'd be done.
And they would probably do it so quickly and move so quickly that you wouldn't even see it coming.
Exactly. They wouldn't even see it coming. And if we're still standing here, then they're not wanting to kill us. At least that's my theory for now, until Jason Kenzie disappears. Never
No.
In Ontario.
Thunder Bay.
In Thunder Bay.
Oh, Thunder Bay.
They only found Kerrilynn.
And the camera.
You didn't understand what she was saying. You just like, Jason's gone. Get me out of here.
The sighting that my dad had shared was about 6 or 7 years ago, and it was not far behind where he lives on one of the reserves outside of Sault Ste. Marie, and there was I don't know if it was 9 or 10 foot tall bipedal something dragging part of the hind end of a moose carcass.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So it's got to be pretty big if it's dragging part of a moose carcass, and that's what I had said to my dad. As you know, would somebody take me out? And he said, if it's eating like a moose carcass, what do you think it's going to do to you? And I'm like, it would be an epic death, and make sure it's filmed. It's just that's what it would be, right? James, thank you so much for reminding me, because I started going on with conversations and I always get rolling. So thanks for reminding me that we need to do the station ID as well too. It's fellow radio guy. So, for anybody that is joining us just now, thank you for listening to Spirit Switchboard. I'm your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM out of beautiful New Orleans. And thank you for joining us. And our guest today is Jason Kenzie, author, adventurer, filmmaker, all the hats.
Scaredy cat.
But I think it should be. I think being scared is just being respectful of the situation that you put yourself in as well too. And I appreciate your approach at the same time, because you do go in being respectful of the land, respectful of the resources, respectful of the animals, the situation, and the people. So
Yeah.
That's important too, right? And when you're putting so much content out and you're teaching people and mirroring to people on the ways to do this ethically and with integrity, and that's important.
It is.
I think.
Very important. No, it really is. I know. I agree with you. I wouldn't be like, no, forget it. Whatever you said.
And the camera's down, and the other Jason, the dark side, comes out.
Jason, throw the camera. Throw the camera.
Exactly. Where did we leave off before the station ID? Oh yeah, so like making sure that we have the camera as well too. But I think so personal experiences that happen, and when you're documenting, when you're cutting things down, like there's so much that you can't. How do you pick and choose what gets put together into the docuseries? What's get less? Is there enough that you could have a whole B film too with what gets cut out?
Yeah, there's a lot of bloopers. I trip a lot when I'm in the forest, and usually I'm holding a big video camera, so
Right.
There is a lot of bloopers, and I am thinking of just putting together one 45-minute blooper.
I honestly,
the Sasquatch.
Here's
Watch
my money.
Jason stumble.
Here's my money.
Yeah, here's your money. Exactly right.
Honestly,
money not to do that.
But I think that's real too, though. Like when we're just being authentically ourselves and real, people relate to it and they appreciate it. There's no ego in it, right?
The way I film my documentaries is I want people, like my documentaries are not perfect. I know that. They're not perfectly filmed. And I film it in a way where I hope that people can feel like they're with me on this adventure, like beside me. That's why I will talk into the camera. That's why I do a lot of, I didn't want it to be too polished. I wanted it to just feel like you're with me, beside me, and just hanging out
in the moment,
being scared with me.
Yeah. I think it's the video clip that we did get, you can hear it in your voice when you're sharing, you can hear it. And
so before you show that clip, I'll do a backstory on it for sure.
Yeah.
So the clip she's about to show you is a creature. Well, let me back up. So I was in Michigan, and I was probably about an hour and a half away, maybe 2 hours away from Ann Arbor. In Michigan. And I was on a farm. There was a farm, and they had something like, I can't remember, 20 acres that backed onto a massive forest that probably had 800,000 acres of pristine forest.
Wow.
And I was meeting up with Robin Haynes McCrae, which is a lady that can mind speak with these creatures. And so she came all the way to where I was staying just so she can meet me. And when she first showed up, I walked up to her, and I didn't think much about mind speaking, like being able to telepathically talk to these creatures. But she said she can talk to these creatures all over the world. Right. So she could be like, so anyway, I was like, oh, yeah, one just tripped into and just fell into a salmon in Minnesota. Yeah. Okay. Like she can, talk to these people. He's cursing a lot.
I know a couple of people that do that.
So the first thing I said to her is, okay, so is there any Bigfoot creatures here? She's like, yes, there is. There was a bunch of Bigfoots here. And I'm like, really? So where are they? They're like, well, they're telling me, okay, yeah, they're over there. And she points into this area, like over there. And there was a big area of all these. If I took you into this area, all the trees look dead. Like there's no leaves. There's leaves on top. Like it's like a big canopy and all the
Right.
trees they're bare with these. It looks like like Hansel and Gretel when they go into the dark forest of death. Like it
Right.
looks scary like that. But
Right.
at the very top, it's a big, huge canopy. So when you walk in, it looks pretty scary. And she's
Right.
like, yeah, they're over there in that area. I'm like, really? So why are they over there? What out of all these places, why are they over there? They're like, well, there's a family of them, and they're there because the food source is over there. Like they're telling me birds, and I'm like, really? Well, that's interesting, because that's where all the wild turkeys roost in the evening. And I knew that
Interesting.
because I'd already been there on that property for a week.
Right.
So I kind of knew where, like people would tell me where they would roost. So
Right.
that evening, first off, I said, can you tell them I'm going to come and try and meet them? And she's like, oh, yeah, they already know. And I'm like, really? You eavesdroppers, right? Like I just yell out there on the.
But
How
thoughts
crazy.
are loud, Jason.
Yeah, yeah.
Thoughts are loud.
So that evening, 5 of us, once like 9 o'clock in the evening, 10 o'clock in the evening, when the sun went
Right.
down, we headed off into that area. And we got out of the vehicles. And as we walked through these tall grass, literally as we passed through, because it was like grass, tree line. Like you just passed through like the gates of hell. Like you're going
Right.
through. As soon as I passed in, it was like crash. Something large runs, and I was filming this way, and it scared me. And I looked, and I could just see like a shadow, like the back of it go through the trees, and the trees came back. Like it just went through the trees, and the trees came back. So I did what any normal, sane person would do: is I run after it.
Yes, that is exactly what you do.
I'm running through the forest, and I could hear it, and my camera's rolling, and I could hear it crashing through the forest. And it's not avoiding the branches, these big, thick branches. It is literally bulldozing through these branches,
Wow.
breaking them, and stepping on these giant logs that are just breaking underneath it. And finally, after about 100 feet, I stopped because I wasn't able to catch up. Now, I can't say it was Bigfoot, but I do know that usually animals, because we weren't being quiet, we were like talking.
Right.
So deer and bear and all that would usually run off. And there was no bears in the area anyway. I didn't see. They told me there hadn't been any bears in that area for many, many years, and I didn't see any sign. No scratching.
So energetically, did it feel different? That
Yes.
that
So as you walk in,
kinetic,
yeah,
static energy. Did it?
definitely. So when I got back to everyone, and we were looking at this giant tree that had like vines that were twisted all the way around it and going up. Then all of a sudden we heard a crack, and we turned around. We could see these creatures looking at us behind trees, just behind the trees. So we started running towards it. I just wanted to get close, and I'm filming everything. And Robin is yelling. There's 5 of us, by the way, and Robin's yelling, Jason, stop chasing after. It's a young one you're chasing after. And the parents are telling me they're getting mad that you're getting close, and they're telling you to stop. You're on borrowed time right now. And so as we're going, and everyone,
those are interesting choice of words.
Yeah, and everyone is kind of beside me. Well, a couple of them are beside me, and we're running after it. You could hear them running, like on video. You could hear it running. So at one point, I said, "Okay, everyone, let's stop. Let's just turn all the lights off, and we'll sit down, and we'll just listen." So we're listening. At this point, what I didn't know is, because I was talking on camera a lot, I actually was catching the eye shine of creatures that were really tall. And you see that on camera, like you see in the background, you see the eyes watching. But that was later. At the moment, So it's pitch black out now. We have no lights on, and my ADHD got the better of me after 10 minutes, and I stood up, and I said, I'm just going to take a little walk. So I walked away from everyone, and as I walk up, Robin is looking through his lens, and I thought I saw some eye shine, and so did she. She's like, I think there's eye shine watching us. I said, yeah, I thought I saw some too. So I walked around her and walked through the forest, and I was probably about 25, 30 feet from them when I came around some bushes, and poof, right there in front of me, about 25 feet, was a creature that was standing about 7 feet tall, and it had eye shine. I could only see the eye shine, but I froze, and I'm looking at it going, oh my God, oh my God. And I pushed record because I wasn't recording. I pushed record, and within that half a second delay, the creature dropped to the ground and went behind some bushes and was just watching me. And I'm standing there. I did not take my eyes off of it, because every time all these eyewitnesses that I talked to over the years, they
Right.
said very similar things. Is as soon as they saw it, they took their eyes off of it for a second and it took off. So I was
Right.
watching it. I like my thumb was on the camera, like this is the camera, and my
Yeah.
thumb, and I'm like going, where the fuck is that? Like I'm trying to find it,
Yeah.
right? And then I push it,
Yeah.
and I'm standing there with my camera going, oh my God, please let the lens cap be open, please. And I'm filming it for like 30, like it probably was for a minute, and
Right.
it's looking at me. And so the footage that you're about to show is the creature looking at me from behind. Now, I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot creature, but all I'm thinking is, oh my God, Robin, if Robin's right, and this is a young Bigfoot, I'm literally standing there waiting for the adults to come walking up behind me and go hit me on the top of the head and just kill me. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, oh my God. And people say, well, maybe it's an owl that's behind there. I'm like, let me tell you something about owls. Owls do not, like birds, usually don't touch the ground unless
Yeah.
they're eating. I mean, yes, ducks and geese and chickens, they touch the ground. Yes, it baffles me. But most wild birds, they only touch the ground to eat. And the reason for that is anything that kills them is usually on the ground. So they try and stay up in the trees, or they're flying.
Right.
So if it was an owl, why the heck would an owl fly down closer to the ground where it's more vulnerable? So definitely not an owl. But anyway, this is the video. It's going to be hard for people to see because it's so small, but you can find it large on my documentary. Remember, it's shaky because I'm shaky.
Ernie, I am looking at one right now,
Yeah, you see the little eye shine right in the middle
and
of
it's
it.
looking at me. Yes, I'm filming him for like 30 seconds, the eye shine, and he is looking. I hope I get it. I'm fucking shaking.
Yeah, I was pretty scared because I didn't know exactly, because I know animals, and whatever that animal is, whatever it is, was not natural.
Ernie,
See the,
Ernie, I am looking at one right now.
there is a bit of
I'm looking
delay
at something,
on it.
and it's looking at me. Yes, I've been filming him for like 30 seconds, the eye shine, and he
Yeah,
is
it's really
looking.
hard. People have to
I
go
hope I
on.
get it. I'm fucking
No,
shaking.
you can. The tree snapping, is that somebody walking towards you too?
No, that's it walking away.
Was that the tree snapping?
Yeah, it was walking away, because as the guy was coming, it was running off. It was actually going through the forest. And then I went on the other side, and there was a bit of a hill. So whatever that was standing on a bit of a hill, and it was still. But when I came around the corner of the bushes, I actually saw it standing there about 7 feet. whatever that was. But man, it was terrifying for sure.
James is saying you've been through all of that and you're only at 50% believer.
Because I need a daytime sighting.
The daytime.
I need to see. I need the thing to walk up and slap me in the face.
Do you think
carry me
it'll be
off.
daytime or dusk? With
Well,
dusk,
Well,
dusk
it
work
has
for
to be
you?
like it has to be a full body, like where I can see it clear as day, not
Yeah.
eye shine and a bit of a shadow.
Yeah.
I
It's like in a
imagine I imagine if it stood out in my flashlight in the beam of light and it was like lit up like a Christmas tree. Okay, maybe I could move way up there for sure, but I need
So-
that.
taking people on investigations, even doing the seances at home, any of that kind of stuff, I always encourage people to like introduce themselves, state their intention, all that kind of stuff. So if the person that was with you guys who was communicating telepathically with them, you know,
Yeah,
if you had introduced yourself or was like, I'm just here to introduce myself or check myself out, even though you're super scared,
Yeah.
would that have made a difference, do you think? Or did she encourage, or did that person encourage that? Do they, I don't know.
Well-
Was there a conversation around anything like that? If she's communicating with them and they've allowed connection, like they allowed that connection to happen.
yeah, they
With
would
you.
have for sure. And this is the thing. I mean, a Bigfoot, like people say to me, leave them alone. Stop chasing them. I'm like, I am so sorry that you feel like that, but I have to let you know, I'm in the middle of the forest camping, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, these creatures come around me. They're coming to me. There's no, like when I say I'm going out to find Bigfoot, it's usually the other way around. I'm usually going out into the forest to find evidence, like footprints, like
Yeah.
evidence of these creatures, not the actual creature.
Yeah.
They usually come to me. And so if these creatures truly do not ever want to be seen, they just have to hike out up the mountain, over the mountain, into an area that humans literally can't get to or
Yeah.
even go to. Right? They can go so deep into in British Columbia where I live,
Oh,
to be millions of acres,
yeah.
of hectares of forest that people do not go to. I know
Yeah.
there is. So if these creatures truly don't want to be seen, they just have to go there.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a theory though.
I would love to hear it.
That the ones that do come near you are young. I think they're like
Oh,
teenagers. Because
yeah.
for us as kids, when we were teenagers,
Yeah.
I mean,
And then you get all the growly parrots going, ruff, 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 ruff,
yeah,
right in the back.
exactly. You jump off
Yeah.
you jump out your window onto, off your roof onto the grass. You slip. You hit your face on a big slug. It terrorizes you.
There's
You're like screaming like a little
Single
girl.
mom Sasquatches
Nothing that would happen. But yeah,
giving their
so
kids crap.
maybe it was. I think they're young Sasquatches. I think the ones that are peeking into windows and stuff, possibly they could be. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry, guys. I just need to take this one call for half
Yep.
a second.
Do you want to mute it on your end?
Hey,
Okay, guys that are in the chat, how do you guys feel you would handle all of that? Would you go out? James, you've been able to audibly hear them. Have you seen them as well too, where you are?
so I apologize very
It's
much.
okay.
It was my brother, and he had called me like 6 times.
Oh,
So usually he doesn't do that. So it was yeah. So anyway, I'm back.
okay. I just asked James if he has heard or interacted in the same way too, because he talks about them taking apples from his place, and almost like how Richie talks about his gifting chair, right? Where they take, and I've connected with other people where it is being given gifts by them as well too.
Yeah. So I have a really cool experience with gifting.
Gifting?
Like,
I would love to
yeah,
hear
it was-
about it.
So I met up with the She Squatchers and Squatchman, and we were in this undisclosed location, and we went to his Squatchman, his area, and we had bought donuts, glazed donuts that were in plastic and still sealed, and we stuck it on a log, like on a stump,
Right.
in the forest, and we went back by the campfire, and we're doing our thing, roasting up, just hanging out for like a couple hours, and then we went back, and the package was open nice and neatly, and it was opened, and it had taken 4 donuts, and there was one that was left that was half eaten, and it was left in the actual like in the thing, and there were fingerprints on the bottom of the package, like full fingers, not just
Were they
fingerprints.
big?
They were massive. So the thumb was here, and the pinky was out here. Like it was massive, and it's as if it held up the package, like held open the lid while it took it. And I was just like a kid in a candy store.
Yes.
I was like filming everything in 4K video. I was so excited. I still can't say it was Bigfoot because I didn't see it, but you could definitely.
It's interesting.
We took lots of pictures, and so the next day. And so here's the thing: there was beef jerky, there was some candies, there was an apple, and none of it was touched except for the package of donuts. And it took a bite of the apple, but it went, and then it didn't take the bite, but it put its teeth marks
just bit into it
around it, which I think it could have been a young Bigfoot, because obviously if a Bigfoot is that big, like let's say a young one is 7 feet tall, then the head would be huge. So you think the apple would be like,
popping it in.
Yeah, it would be like but it took a bite of the apple,
right,
and then it put it back. But the beef jerky wasn't touched. So the next night we did the same thing, exactly the same, and we left it there. And we went back. We sat around the campfire for a couple hours, and then we went back, and it was all gone. It was ripped apart. All the donuts were eaten. All the beef jerky, everything was ripped apart, and there was raccoon prints all around it.
Interesting. So totally different.
I was so excited because of that, because I wanted to tell the viewers or people that the first time was not wild animals.
Yeah.
Because they would rip it apart. And then when I was able to show what real animals would do, it was awesome, because the first time it looked like it took its thumb and just cut open, when you buy a donut, you slice it open and then it open it up. And how hard it is to get those plastic things open. You're like, damn it, what? And then you cut your finger, and you're like,
that's incredible, eh?
Yeah, it was actually cool. So that was in Searching for Sasquatch 9. They Feast in the Darkness. That's what I called it.
Do you know, it's on Amazon Prime, right? But we can't watch it here.
They're all on Tubi. You
on
can watch
Tubi.
it. Yeah, you can watch it.
On Tubi. Okay, James is saying, because when you needed to step out just for a quick second, I had asked if people had those, if James had seen them, smell them, taken apples, all that kind of stuff, and he's like, yep, they pass through the property a lot, so he's definitely having those experiences. Jen, I'm surprised you're still hanging out, but I'm really glad that you are. She would be freaking out about all of those experiences for sure. Carol Broomer Rand, my mother-in-law saw a Sasquatch while riding on a train through the Rockies. She was interviewed on CBC radio about it. That's interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. So, are you in Alberta, Carol? I wonder if, or were you in BC? Like, was your mom in BC?
Mm.
I mean, imagine the Rockies is more of the Alberta.
Tammy Johnnings is sharing, I watched a show about Sasquatch with my dad when I was about 8 or 9 years old. It was at night and portrayed them as dangerous and scary. I couldn't sleep for years after that.
Well, that's interesting.
I have, she was living in Alberta at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you an interesting animal story that happened.
We still have some. So I just trying to be mindful of our time. We have about 20 minutes, but you have like all the photos of that we haven't shared yet either.
Yes. Let's have a look at those photos then.
Okay. Are there ones that you want me? The one with the red light?
Yeah. So that was the spider web structure. And so that was right. So right after I howled, and then we got those 2 howls and then the coyotes, there was a weird owl sound that came out of the forest. So one of the she-squatches, Tammy, and I, we went into the forest to go look and see what was making that sound. And as we were walking around, we found this structure. Just it was totally abnormal. You could see, and the red light, we're using red light because allegedly these creatures can't see red. But yeah, that was, it's hard to say, but you could see how I call it a spider web. And ironically, there was an actual spider web right across from it. So.
Really?
Yeah.
So.
Isn't that really cool?
So at the bottom of all of. Are they connected at the bottom, all of them? It's just fast. Like it's.
No, so the one in the middle, the one right in the middle, right over my head, that one's connected to the ground. The other one, yeah, that one is connected. That goes straight up.
Crazy.
And then the other ones are just placed there. And believe it or not, they're all being held
like
by a little teeny tiny piece of stick, like a piece of branch, that big.
Yeah,
in the video,
that's crazy.
I show it. But yeah, so I just saw, I found that again recently.
Like not even like a directional marker. That feels more like trying to keep you away.
Yeah.
Like.
So the owner of the property.
What we could do.
Like a week later, the owner of the property called me up. I was back in Canada, and that was in Minnesota. He called me up and said, "Jay, where exactly did you see that structure? Where is it?"
Yeah.
And I explained it. And go down this trail, go straight down about 200 feet, look off to the left or off to the right, you'll find it. And I hung up. 20 minutes later, he calls me up and goes, "I still can't find it, Jay. Where exactly is it?" And I explained it some more because he was walking around looking for it. And then 20 minutes later, he calls me back and says, "Yeah, it's destroyed. It's on the ground. Like it's being dismantled."
Interesting.
Later. So I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Michelle said Sasquatch sundial.
Yeah, exactly. It's wondering where the sun comes up.
So Michelle was also asking, what do you imagine would stand out the most of a Sasquatch's features if or when you do see one face to face?
Like features, like what it would look like.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it's going to be matted, like the hair, because I think they would have hair instead of fur. I think more hair, but we matted, probably look really disgusting looking. We'd probably have a head, like a big head. Ironically, only a couple of weeks ago, a guy said that he was out in the forest and he felt like something was behind him. So he took his phone and he held it up and he took a picture of behind him. Like just took a picture,
Yeah.
didn't turn around, he just took a picture. He showed me the picture that he took. I'm like, man, if this is CGI, I mean, it was incredible. He took a picture and literally in the picture, you see this giant head of a creature right behind him. And you see like the eyes, the nose, like the brow, the nose. And it was an incredible photo of this creature. And he didn't want to show people, but he felt like he wanted to show me. He's like, I want to show you. And he looks around like, make sure no one sees him. And he takes he shows the picture to me. I'm like, wow. So yeah, it's interesting.
So it's your turn's coming then.
Yeah,
I think all
turn.
those things. Yeah, your turn's coming. All those
My turn.
synchronicities and the way that it's lining up, then
For
it'll
sure.
be your turn coming for sure. But I think their face would be dark. I've always imagined like,
Black?
I don't know, but dark
Well, everyone,
skinned.
yeah, well, everyone that I've interviewed who told me their eyewitness accounts had said that they had a pretty dark face, but no hair on their face.
No, I don't imagine either. Well, that was a question I was going to ask you too. Were there consistencies or themes with all of the witness
Yeah.
accounts?
Totally. Like in many places, people would say there wasn't much hair on the face. I have not seen
On the face.
Yeah, on the face. I've never seen colored eyes. I've only seen white or off-white, like yellow. I haven't seen the red eyes. I haven't seen blue eyes.
As a shine.
As an eye shine, yes.
Mm.
I've not seen that. I have seen the weird lights in the forest.
So again, then what would that be? So
I don't know.
like,
But what I could tell you what led up to it.
so James is asking a great question. Maybe like deer change color as the seasons change.
That could be a possibility. I did not know that their eyes change as a season. Is it because they want to camouflage? I mean, I know they changed from when they were young, as a fawn.
Coat, like their
Like their
coat
coat.
would?
I didn't know that their eyes would change color
I don't know.
as the seasons.
Do you mean their eyes, James, or just their coat? Because I didn't know their eyes change color too, but that's cool. I have, again, just because Nora's stinking cute, but I mean, my Nora has one brown eye and one blue eye. She's got David Bowie eyes.
Oh, that's cool. So one blue one. So
Yeah.
interesting. Where I'm from, and maybe where you're from too, the First Nations people, they have a name for it. It's called the ghost-eyed. Ghost. What's it? The ghost.
The coat.
Ghost-eyed dog.
Oh.
Like they call it ghost, and they think they avoid it like the plague. Like they think it means it's an omen for bad luck, like it's taken their soul. Yeah, it's only with dogs that have one blue eye, one brown eye.
Oh, wow.
Ghost-eyed dog. That's what they call it.
Nora made me cry every day for 2 years, but I was emotionally invested and stuck it out, and we're 4 years in now. But she didn't create bad luck for me, but she was a pill for me to get to understand what she needed. Jen saying, would they be white in colder climates?
So that's interesting. The Yeti is not white at all.
Shush.
No. Eyewitnesses I've talked to who have said they've seen these creatures.
Yeah.
Dark brown, black, like they're not white.
It's not like the abominable snowman that puts the star on the Christmas tree.
That is why. That is the reason why people think it's white, because Walt Disney had, they had made the abominable snowman for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and they made it for Coca-Cola, like the white version.
Coca-Cola.
That was in like the 1940s, and ever since then, everyone thinks that the Yeti, because it lives way up in, in the snow-covered Alps, or not Alps, sorry, the Himalayas, is a white. Not saying there isn't white Bigfoots because there has been some eyewitnesses I've talked to who have actually seen pure white Bigfoots.
Right. Again, we'll just go back. It's the single mom Sasquatch with the stress of having to take care of the teenage ones that keep raiding places.
I told you to stay away from those humans and that damn Jason guy.
Exactly. Glad you're feeling that. And I think the interest is because there's so many possibilities to it, right? The wonderment of it. And that's what I hope people with all of the mystery, for sure. And I think we need that. We need to have mystery and things to wonder about and investigate. And we need that magic when there's so many things to be stressed out about and shiza stuff that's happening in the world. A little bit of mystery is needed every day.
Yeah, it's true. And I love it. That's why I do it so much.
Michelle is asking if you'll share more about the lights. No.
Okay, so okay, I'll try and say it fast. So that was good. Okay, no. So
that was great gibberish.
I think it was in Pennsylvania, on the border of New York. A guy who did tracking, he was hunting, he saw Bigfoot, and it changed his life. So when he told me the story, he took me and this group of us out to this area to see these Bigfoots, or to where he saw the Bigfoot. Then I'm like, well, let's go into the forest. So at nighttime, we're walking to the forest, and the flashlight that I had, I was shining it like this, and I caught this creature looking at us, and the eye shine, it was like, as if it got like, I got caught, and it ducked behind a tree.
Right.
And I looked at the tracker. He had brought his son. Son, I think, was like 10. And I looked at him. He looked at me. He said, "Yeah, I saw it too." And I said, "Guys, I saw. We saw something there. We saw something. Eye shine." So we ran towards it, and as we came around around the tree, there, about 3 feet tall on the ground, was a tree structure, like this little structure, and it was about 3 feet high, and it was just like, it was so amazing. There's a little tiny, almost like a little teepee little structure, and then we could hear it running off. So we followed it. So we're going through the forest. Then all of a sudden, we see this giant red light moving in the forest. It looked like a car headlight. No, a car tail light.
Right.
That's what it looked like, a giant tail light. So I go running towards it because that's a smart thing to do. And I'm yelling, "Hey, excuse me, hello. If you're a hunter, please don't shoot me. I'm unarmed. Hello.
Right.
Hello. If you're a Bigfoot, please don't eat me. I taste terrible." And then we start running after this light. And I jumped over a log, and boom, there was a footprint right there in front of me.
Crazy.
14 inches. And we spent 10 minutes looking at the footprint. And then I turned and said, "What about the light, guys?" And we stood up, and the light was gone. So I don't know what the lights are exactly.
No theory?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's paranormal somehow. Paranormal, but I've seen it a few times in the forest, and it's really odd to see.
Yeah. So again, is it paranormal? Is it dimensional? Is it? I don't know.
Well, I've talked to a few witnesses who saw Bigfoot at the same time as they saw lights, either after they saw Bigfoot or before they saw Bigfoot. They would see these lights.
So if we talk about, do they emit a smell if they get scared like a skunk? If it's energy that builds up, when I don't know. I'm not going to say that I didn't do it as an adult, because I certainly have done it because, grade 4 sense of humor. But if you're shuffling along a carpet and then you touch somebody, if you do it at nighttime, you see that kinetic energy spark. Yeah. So is it potentially something like that as well too? I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Lots of theories and questions
I'd like to know if they can actually submit or if they can submit the infrasound without the roar. Like they're like, right? I like to know if they can do that, just
like an X-Men.
like an X-Men, like just kind of shoot the infrasound,
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
Trevor is sharing possible dimensional portal that allows them to travel to different parts of North American continent. And I mean the tunnel systems and cave systems that are all over the place as well too. There's also that.
I more believe that they could, be living in those cave systems.
Yeah.
Because we know from real animals like bears and wolves, foxes, they live in caverns, right?
I had this up, but I need to be mindful that our time is, kind of come to our end. 2 hours went by really quickly. What's coming up next? If we can share really quickly what's coming up next. What adventure are you going on next?
So I just finished filming 5 new Bigfoot documentaries and a couple paranormal documentaries. So
I'm excited for those.
Yeah, those are coming out. People can find all my documentaries on Tubi. There's 15 of them. And there's 2 paranormal ones too. And there's going to be a 3rd one coming very soon. My next expedition is probably going to be Toronto, or going to be in Ontario with you.
Sounds good. I'm up for it.
I think that's going to be my next one. There is plans of me going to England and speaking at Paracon, which is the largest, paranormal
through
convention.
Parastream. Please
Parastream.
Subscribe, to Parastream. You'll find Richie there as well too.
Yep, you can find all my documentaries on Parastream also. And if anyone is listening from England, come down to Paracon. Come say hi to me. I'll even sign my comic book.
Oh, see, that's the one I was. Yeah, that's awesome.
Called Searching for Sasquatch, and it's beautifully made with Bigfoot creatures, and
so fun.
That may or may not be me. Okay, right? With the she squatchers. Right here.
The she squatchers are great too. Everybody needs to take a follow with them as well.
It's so much fun, and then of course you can find my my children's books too. I try and teach. There's a little ghost boy, Loch Ness Monster, and there's
it's a character JJ.
Adventures of Little JJ.
Yeah.
That's what the
Little
name
JJ.
So it's a little 6-year-old boy that uses his imagination to travel the world, meeting new friends, animals, and whatnot.
Love it.
So it's a lot of stuff. If you just Google Jason Kenzie's either Animal Adventures or Searching for Sasquatch or Bigfoot, you'll find lots of my videos.
Thanks so much for being here, Jason. Thank you, everybody that participated in the chat. The show would not be what it is without you guys participating and your comments and questions. I'm so grateful to all of you. Thank you to Joe Montaldo and Michelle DeRoche, United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM out of New Orleans. Thanks for being here, everybody, so much. I appreciate all of you. Next week, I will have Jacqueline Goldman of Guelph Urbex back on talking about all of the fun stuff that we did through October, So have a good week, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for having me. See you guys.